Welcome back to Winterverse. I'm Andrew, and in this video I'm continuing my playthrough of RoboMon at the Carnelian Cemetery. I am playing a full spoiler playthrough, so if you're not interested in seeing spoilers, just watch for as long as you like until you feel like you've seen enough, and then save the rest of the content for when you have the copy of your own. And if you would like to get a copy of your own, check out the Game Found campaign, which is running live right now. It's funded and still going strong at the time I'm recording. Check out the link in the description for that. If you want to see more of how to play RoboMon and get into the story at the beginning, definitely start with episode 1 of this series, the tutorial playthrough at Copper Ridge. But otherwise, let's hit the music and learn about the Carnelian Cemetery. Most of the information about the Carnelian Cemetery was lost in the Great Collapse. Now all we have is bits and pieces of data recovered from a few old books and documents. The area was once owned by a community that honored its deceased by putting them in ornate, underground wooden boxes. How odd. No one seems to know who owns the cemetery, but it stays maintained, and there are reports of more people going into the area than ever. No one seems to know who owns the cemetery, but it stays maintained, and there are reports of more people going into the area than ever seem to come back out, which has led many locals to believe the place is haunted. And while we're zoomed in down here, we can take a look at our search charts. What would be 4, find a battery, metal wire, or large repair kit. And for the treasure chest, we'll be able to find a small or medium reprogrammer. And for Wild RoboMon, it looks like we have a couple shots at RoboMon number 2, a couple shots at 17, and there's a somewhat rare RoboMon number 3 down there. I think 3 was our fruit flyer, so we already got that one. And also just take a close-up zoomed in look before we pan out. There's a well down here. Looks like we need an item to go down that way. And on further reflection, 17 RoboMon we also have, that was the Armadillos, who just recently went into our save box and left our main team, which means it's just RoboMon number 2 that we might be interested in. Let's save that for later. Let's get into the Carnelian Cemetery, coming in this way from the jetty. So let's start here with entry 1620. Oh hey, you're one of those ranger people, aren't you? The hiker says. I was wandering around in the woods here and I found this. He holds up a RoboMon tracker with a cracked screen. I figure one of your ranger friends dropped it or something. Anyway, here you go. You take the broken device and examine it for a moment. The screen has a huge gash in it, and it's out of batteries, but it's possible the gyro sensor inside still works. You put it in your bag until you can figure out what to do with it. But why would a ranger just leave it in the woods? Draw card 19. Card 19 can be a broken RoboMon tracker. Broken RoboMon tracker found at the church. That will join our other items. We have a pocket boat voucher, a broken watch, VHS tape 89, and now that. Continuing on, this looks like a grumpy punk kid here, 2020. Is this going to be a battle? It is. We got some rocks and some water with a path here. Let's hit the battle music as we get set up. Boom. Punk Rachel says, I heard people were dying to come here. I guess I should have buried my expectations. Wonder if she even knows that's a pun, considering they don't practice the ritual of burying their dead in long wooden boxes. But she has RoboMon number 5 and 25. Pull those out of the reverse stack. It's going to be a Ramrock. Haven't seen that guy before. And a Spider Bite. I have seen that one. Loves to pounce. 31 and 39. These out of the boards here. Got a Spider Bite and a Ramrock. Ramrock has 2 armor tokens and so does Spider Bite. Put those here. That's 4 damage each we have to break through. They're both pretty fast too, with 81 and 74. We have a grass type and an earth type, for nature and earth. Here I'm going to grab a couple of flyers here, Regineer and Fruit Flyer, and let everybody else go off to the side for now. We choose our 2 RoboMon to battle with. They do both have a bit of damage on them. Alright, speeds 81 and 74. Means they both get to go before we do. 81, 74, 71, and 66. They're all pretty fast. We're just not fast enough. Also, Ramrock has agility. Sorry, I've been calling it agility. It's actually called nimble. Nimble is the ability that lets it move diagonally. So targeting can work diagonally, adjacency works diagonally, but movement is orthogonal for Ramrock, as it's nimble. It's also sure-footed and move on and over yellow terrain. Interesting. Oh, I just noticed this discrepancy. I've been playing Fruit Flyer as an air type because it says it's an air type. So it does have nature type special attacks, but it says it's an air type, and the versus version of it also says it's an air type with nature type special attacks. This token here, however, says it is a nature type with flying, but the nature type is the type part that I'm talking about now. So I'm going to keep playing it as I have been, which is that it is an air type with nature type attacks. But reminder, something is off here, and this is a prototype. So to really get this battle underway, I'm going to need to roll my 7 action dice. And even though my RoboMon are going last, Ramrock is up first. Let's roll a d4 to see what it wants to do. Got a 4, so we'll take a closer look. 4 means it wants to target a fire type or electric type RoboMon. We don't have those, so it'll just target whoever's closer. And a 4 means it wants to use Rock Shot. So on a 3 or 4, it wants to use Rock Shot, which is a melee attack. So it's going to need to get into range, but speed is only 4. So I think it's going to move 4 and end its turn. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. Out of range of Rock Shot. Spider Bite is next, and it got a 3. 3 on Spider Bite means it wants to target the lowest health RoboMon, which is Fruit Flyer. It actually only has 4 left. And 3 means it's using Bite, so that's also a melee attack. Movement is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it can't go over the... Well, it can go over the water, but it could go into the water. I think it will... I don't know. I don't remember reading rules about RoboMon avoiding terrain that they're not proficient in. Because the Spider Bite could go into the water, but I think it makes sense for it to avoid it. So every movement out of a water space, even if it's into another water space, takes 2 movement, and in this case, this yellow blocking terrain would be in the way, so it'd be kind of a long way around. So even though we're going last, we are probably kind of have the initiative here. Reginair has Tailspin, which means it can move 3 spaces as though it had flying, but I don't think its normal movements are as though it had flying, so we have to be careful how we use that flying movement, and we can't split it up. So for example, if I used a movement die, could move its speed, which is 3, but maybe just go 1, and then use Tailspin to go 1, 2, 3, for example, into the water. And then could we Tailspin out of the water? I think so. Like next turn, because we could stand here and use Fan Attack, but doesn't matter. It's actually Fruit Flyer's turn first. We didn't even roll any special attack symbols. Only even got 1 basic. I think I'm going to use both the movement symbols to move Fruit Flyer 6 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Fly over the water, and then use Fruit Cannon as a ranged 3 attacks. We have 1 extra distance to spare. We're going to use the action token as a special attack symbol, and we will use the Wild as a special attack, which costs 1 energy to do. Then Fruit Cannon costs 2 energy to do, and since we're doing the since we're using 2 special attack symbols, we use the second number, which is 3 damage. A nature type attack, and nature is advantaged against Earth, which Ramrock is. So we're going to roll the green modifier die. That's 3 damage modified by +2 is 5, which means we get to break both of these 2 armor tokens with 1 damage remaining, putting Ramrock down to 6. So that's not a bad start. But Reginair now doesn't really have much movement available. Could use the action token to move, and then Tailspin lets it move 3 more. Yeah, why not? So we'll do that. So we're going to do this movement and Tailspin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we'll go ahead and use this basic attack token to use Scratch. And since we're only using 1 symbol, we use the first number. The first number is 2, so it's doing 2 damage. This is a normal attack. It's not a typed attack, so we're going to use the basic modifier die, the black one. So 2 modified with this black die is +1, so that's 3, which puts Ramrock up to 4 damage out of 7 health. Scratch does cost 1 energy, so we'll spend that for Reginair. And that concludes the round, so roll up the 7 action dice and give Spider Bite its second turn. That's a lot of armor. I guess we don't have to worry about damage this turn, right? Spider Bite is going to do a 4, which is actually Pounce. Pounce means it moves off the board completely, and at the start of its next turn, it will rejoin the party next to our RoboMon with the least health. So that is a little annoying because we can't damage it. Now for Ramrock, it's doing a 2, which is a headbutt against our lowest health RoboMon, which is Fruit Flyer, so they'll use its 4 movement to go 1, 2, move diagonal because of nimble, but it didn't need to. Oh, and Headbutt is actually a push attack. I should have looked at that. This is a 2 damage normal type, so black modifier, 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 2 pushes, and since Fruit Flyer is at the edge of the map, both of those pushes turn into damage. Take a look at that. So you can see this they're both push attacks, but Headbutt here has 2 push symbols, 2 dots next to the push. Piercing doesn't matter because we don't have any armor over here. But that's 2 damage, plus again the modified 2 from the die, and 2 push damage for being pushed off against the edge. That's a total of 6 damage. So we'll use 3 armor tokens. Oh, I guess piercing can get through the armor. Does that apply to these? I mean, I guess so. You just check the rules, and I mean they're called armor symbols, and piercing says it ignores armor. So that's just 6 damage. We can't block. I mean, when I said we don't have to worry about damage this turn, I know that's like invoking bad luck, but I was feeling brave and I did it, and I think that's our first knockout of the campaign, the series. Fruit Flyer is taking more damage. It only has 6 hit points. Now it has 8 damage. Sorry, little guy. We're gonna put him off to the side. I guess we get to show off some new mechanisms of the game, starting now actually, because it would be Fruit Flyer's turn. Fruit Flyer is knocked out. Instead, we spend this turn sending out a new RoboMon. It doesn't even get to act, but we haven't seen our Pandal in a while, so let's get Pandal back out on the field. So that was that whole turn, so now it is Regenere's turn. I guess we use the action token as a basic attack, along with this basic attack to use a 3 damage Scratch, modified by the black die. 0, so just 3 damage. 3 plus the 4 it already has is 7. So at least we got a little bit of revenge. That concludes the round, and because we got a new RoboMon out, and I guess because we got a knockout as well, we have to recalculate initiative, because currently Pandal has the 3 token, and Regenere has the 4. Regenere is actually faster, so we have to switch those as we start the next round with 7 fresh dice. Here's some attack symbols. Question is, where is Spider Bite going to appear? Comes down next to the lowest health RoboMon, which is Pandal with 6. So I guess we'll put it here and then see what Spider Bite wants to do. That is another Pounce, which means it comes off the board again. I guess we can just skip to the next round. Maybe use some movement to put Regenere into melee just so we don't have to worry about movement later. And I guess we're just resetting the whole round because we can't do anything to Spider Bite while it's in the air. This time we rolled a 2 for the Spider Bite, so it won't be pouncing. Let's see what it does on 2. That is a bite against the lowest health RoboMon, which is Pandal. Bite is an untyped attack, unfortunately, so that's going to be 4 damage with the black die. -1 is 3, and we can block both of it with these 2 armor. And then it's Regenere's turn. We didn't roll any special, so we could do a fan attack for 1. I mean, with the green die, that's probably worth it. So we're going to use this as a special attack. We do have to spend 2 energy to use fan attack. That's 1 damage. With the green die is 3 damage, which breaks 1 armor. And for Pandal, it's hard to just decline a tier 3 slam, so this melee attack with 1, 2, 3 symbols is going to be 5 damage, and a push for 1, although we're going to be pushing it actually into a different space this time. Maybe we can set up some damage, so 5 damage with the black die is 7, which breaks the armor for 2 and does 5, and Spider Bite has, guess what, 5 hit points, so that's actually it, and push 1. Unfortunately, that was tragic loss of Fruit Flyer, who will now need some time to recover. But we're not playing on Nuzlocke RoboMon mode, so Fruit Flyer is going to be okay, don't worry. And for winning, we get 2 silver and a battery. I think I'm going to restore Fruit Flyer right now. We have small repair kits, which can restore a RoboMon to full health outside of battle. We'll let Pandal keep its 3 and Regenere keep its 1, but Fruit Flyer being knocked out is not good. Fighting fit now as we continue our walk here. Maybe go inside later. Now, you know what? Let's go ahead and search this treasure chest. That's a D4 on that chart we looked at. That's a 1. Small reprogrammer. And we have 3. And yeah, let's just, let's look next to the well. It's so dark I can't see the bottom. I drop a rock down but never hear a splash. There's a sturdy metal pipe that I could probably attach to it and rappel down. Thus, the pound signs next to the 33 here. And if I find an item that has a couple of digits on it, I can try looking up that entry to see if I can go down the well. But let's go inside here, 1319. And we find ourselves inside the old church. So we can look around that stuff. The woman by the candles says that we lost so many good people during the war and it feels like a million years ago. She thinks it's important to never forget those who made the ultimate sacrifice. The sailor is waiting for his one true love. With watery eyes, she's never shown up, even though she said to meet her here. If I have a handwritten note, return to a particular entry. At the fountain, there's a pool of crystal clear water, and I can't see the bottom, and if I had a fishing rod, I could do something else. And over here, I meant to look through the record books because this guy wants to put flowers on his grandma Gertrude's grave, but the stones are so covered with moss, he doesn't know which one's hers. And I looked through the record book and figured it out. Which brings us to this puzzle. McDowell is buried on the end of the row. Beaumont's grave has ivy on it. Herbert is buried next to a cracked headstone. Neither Gertrude nor McDowell's grave has a date on it. Chesterton is buried as far from McDowell as possible. Someone whose name starts with C has a cracked headstone. And Beaumont is buried next to Herbert. Which gravestone belongs to Grandma Gertrude? Whoever's keeping these records has an odd method. Take a minute, I will, and then I'll look up my answer to the puzzle without revealing it. Alright, that was a little bit of writing there, but definitely faster than the previous episode's puzzle. So I'm going to go to my answer. Man says, that's the one. Man shouts before giving you a big hug. Thank you oh so much, and here, take this for your trouble. Paying 5 silver, go back in the church. But I think that's about all we can do here until we have a fishing rod. So we'll come back out and go into the graveyard. We explore this icon here, 1920. So I find an old woman mourning Harold. The gravestone that she's next to seems much older than it should be. The name Harold isn't anywhere on it. She says she lost him in a great storm, and this is the first time she's been able to visit his grave. I need to make an intelligence check. Checking my character sheet, I have intelligence of +2, and with high drawn around, I get an extra +1. I'm going to roll 2d6 and add 3. And 3 and 2 is 5, plus 3 is 8. Just one short of 9. I guess 8 and 9 are the same. And it's a bit sad as we look around together trying to find Harold's actual gravestone, but to no avail. So instead we just look out into the sea where he was lost, and she says she prefers to remember him that way. Anyway, thanks me with money. I gotta say, there's a lot of buried people for a culture that finds putting the deceased into boxes odd. But I may as well roll for this search icon. We're over in this direction anyway, so we'll roll a d4 on this chart. See what somebody left behind. A 4 is a large repair kit. So now I have 2 of those. A small repair kit, as we just saw, heals 1 RoboMon. A large repair kit can heal 3 at once. You can explore this crypt next at 39 and 20. As you approach the massive mausoleum, you hear smashing and throwing sounds. Stones breaking and metal plinking off rocks like a bucket of bolts was thrown into the air. Feeling concerned, you approach the door and peek inside. There, in the middle of a room lined with burial shelves and epitaphs, is a hole-digging robot. Its head is spinning on its own, 4 arms waving, throwing and punching with its 2 shovel attachments jackhammered into the ground. It screeches and occasionally crushes or throws one of the stone coffins around it, leaving long breaks and cracks in the walls. The robot is clearly broken beyond repair. As it throws its tantrum, you realize it is losing all sorts of useful parts. So I need to make a strength check. My strength is 0. Handel has the strength symbol though, so I get a +1. So for a better roll than last time. 6 and 1 is 7, +1 is 8. I guess we got the middle result again. You grab a nearby shovel and begin to dance about, ready to take it down. You leap when you see a moment and cross shovels with the wild mechanism. Its gears and wires smoking. It throws you back, and you charge again, throwing your weight against its torso, pushing it to the ground. It lands and shatters. You are exhausted, but unharmed. Gain a gear. That's my first gear. Talk to this fine gentleman next. At 1320. And he wants to battle. Grave Digger Mortimer says, if you think I'll hold back just because we're in a graveyard, you're dead wrong. Obviously in fashion, in this civilization, for people to make a lot of graveyard-related puns. He has RoboMon number 20. At least it's numbered 20 in the verse deck, and it is an Armadillox. This is not just a regular old Armadigo, this is the big guy. It's got 2 armor tokens on 12 hit points. Looks like it's time for some more grass RoboMon. Nature type. But yeah, I mean, we just restored Fruit Flyer. We're going to use that, and let's give Hydron a shot. Which makes me realize this is the first time I'm using my Hydron's circular counter. We'll give him a shot. Armadillox is speed 44, but Hydron's 20, so it'll be Fruit Flyer, Armadillox, and then Hydron. Roll up the action dice. Not a good bit of movement. So I got 3 movement symbols and 1 special attack. Armadillox looks pretty mobile, so there's no point hanging back, I think. But I think I'm just going to move a little bit. Save at least, maybe save 2 movement for Hydron. Yeah, let's give that a shot. So let's see what Armadillox wants to do. The 4, it wants to burrow. So it's going to attack a fire or electric type, which you don't have. So it'll attack whoever's closest, which is Fruit Flyer. It's going to use burrow. And you can attack 5, and then up to 5 extra spaces with burrow. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It can move all it needs to. And then it's going to attack for 4 with an earth type, but earth has disadvantage against air, which again is what we're considering Fruit Flyer to be based on the fact that it says so. That's going to be 4 damage with the red disadvantage die. That is a miss. Complete miss. So no damage, fortunately. Didn't even have to use this armor, and then Hydron can go next. And now we don't even need to move, because we lured the Armadillox to us. We can use its action token plus this special attack to do a... Actually, we could do a Squall. Squall says it hits RoboMon in a particular range, and it has a push 3, and it does 4 damage with only 2 symbols. Although so does Water Mortar. The push 3 could be extra damage. I think I kind of like that Squall, but we need to get into position to use it. Fortunately, we did save these 2 dice. It only moves 2 at a time. It does fly, but you can't fly over the tree, the ungridded terrain. But RoboMon can move through each other. The restriction in the rules only says that RoboMon can't end its turn on another RoboMon space, so I think it's totally legitimate to move 2 into Armadillox's space and then move 2 more, which means that Squall Grid would hit RoboMon in these spaces. Although even if Fruit Fly were in a targeted space, you don't hit your friend, so you don't have to worry about that. But now we can go ahead and use Squall with these 2 special attack symbols for 4 damage and a push 3. And Water has advantage against Earth, so we're going to be rolling the green die as well. So that is a 4 plus 2 is 6 plus a push of 3, so that's 1, and then 2 more pushes turn into damage because it's up against this barrier, the tree. It's 8 damage, reduced by 4 from the 2 armor. So that is 4 out of 12 hit points down as we end the round. Round 2, Fruit Flyer will be going first. We get some special attacks, but we didn't. We could use Nature type, which also has advantage against Earth. And I doubt we're going to do 8 damage. I do need to spend the 3 energy for that Squall. You know what? I'm going to use 1 movement to move Fruit Flyer to here, which means Mist Attack can now target that Armadillox. So it's going to cost me an extra energy. I'm thinking I want to use that 4 damage attack with only 2 special symbols. Fruit Cannon with only 2 special symbols will do 3 damage, but this does cost an extra energy as well. I'm just going to maximize my damage. So I'm going to have to spend 1 energy to change this wild into a special symbol, and then I'm going to use this action token as a special symbol as well. So that's 2. We're going to use Mist Attack. We have to spend 4 total energy, and we're attacking for 4 with advantage. So it's going to be 7, which is just 1 shy. Crit would have done it. That is now 11 out of 12 damage, and Armadillox gets to take its turn. With a 4, it wants to burrow, so it can move up to 5 extra spaces and then attack. Its target is a fire or electric type. Doesn't have that, so it'll target the closest, which is Fruit Fly, for 4 damage because it's already in melee. But again, it's going to be rolling disadvantage against an air type, so 4 is a miss again. Complete miss, and then Hydron can attack. And I think we're just going to use this special attack symbol in order to do a Water Mortar. I don't know, why not just Squall again? So we need to move into range, so we move 1 forward. Now it does matter that we don't hit our allies in the blast zone. But with one special symbol from the token, we can water mortar for 2 damage. We do have to spend 3 energy on that, but that's an attack for 3 with advantage. It's going to be total overkill. Crit means it doubles to 6 and we roll again. Doubles to 12 and we roll again. Plus 2 is 14. Plus 3 pushes is 17 damage. Poor Armadillox only had 1 hit point left. That battle was a little cleaner. We went in with no damage and came out with no damage. I think all that's left is to talk to this artist at 3319, and he wants to battle too. Artist Tyrone says, my battling skills rival my painting ability. Strokes of genius leading to a masterpiece. RoboMon 14 is a Burn Viper. I guess Hydron gets to come out and play again, and Regener again. I think a good variant for the game, if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, would be to select your battle order and have the first 2 always get sent out, and then you have to adapt. You are allowed to switch out RoboMon during a battle. You just spend a RoboMon's turn removing it from the field and then putting out your RoboMon of your choice in a starting position. So it'll definitely be playable. It just takes some extra rounds. Doing it like this lets you have advantage in the fights. It means there's still some tactical decision to be made. You still get to play with the dice, but you do have a pretty good advantage when you get to choose your types. A lot of green dice. Fastest is going to be Regener at 66, then Burn Viper at 54, and then Hydron, of course, down at 20. Let's see if we can get some movement for the first round. Oh, we got some movement, but not much else. That's 3 movement and a lot of armor. But at least we can get into position a little bit. So Regener can go 1, 2, 3 with 1 die, and then it can use Tailspin to fly 1, 2, 3 over the water, closing ground to Burn Viper. Regener does not have a lot of energy to waste on weak attacks. I'm wondering if I even want to go over there. But you know what? I'm not wasting time. Let's move 6 more spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That puts us into melee range to use Scratch, and we'll just use the basic action token. The action token as a basic attack symbol. The Scratch for 2 damage. So that'll be with the black die. Oh, it does have an armor, so we don't want to see any minuses here. -2, it's a 0, so glad we ran all the way over there. Burn Viper gets to go next, and that's 3. It wants to target a nature type or an ice type, as you can see here, but we don't have those, so it's going to target the closest RoboMon with a flamethrower, but fire has... oh no, it does not have a disadvantage. So air does have advantage against fire. Fire does not have disadvantage against air. So this is going to be a 5 damage attack with the black die against Regener. So 5 plus 1 is 6. So we'll go ahead and use 3 of those armor dice and take no damage. Just leaves 1 armor, and Hydron can use its token to move 2. It flies, so we'll just put it over the water. And that's all we can do. So we'll end round 1, and let's look for some stars. So I will say one thing I'm realizing is that I'm building a lot of my game plan around looking for stars. So since this is a prototype, I wonder if that's something they would look at changing, that the basic attacks, the red die symbol, has an inherent disadvantage of never getting to roll anything but the black die. I don't know if there are RoboMon who are especially good at basic attacks. That would certainly be interesting to see, just like some kind of brawler who just doesn't even have specials, just it does a lot of damage with the red symbol, because so far it's just been a question of type and then rolling the stars I want to see to get that green bonus die modifier. But anyway, it's Regener's turn, and I might save these special symbols for Hydron, not for any reason other than that I only have so many of them, and Regener can use a pretty reasonable basic attack. I did forget to spend this energy for Scratch, and we're going to Scratch again. So that's with 2 symbols is 3 damage. The black die, maybe we can break the armor. 3 goes down to 2, and we do at least break the armor. Then Burn Viper gets to go with a 1, meaning it wants to tail whip our highest speed, which is Regener, right next to it conveniently. And tail whip has piercing, which, as we discovered, means these symbols are useless. That is scary. That's 3 damage, and Regener only has 5 more health. I need to keep my eyes out for piercing. Right. Or no, it has 9 more health. Okay. Feel a little bit safer. But 3 and a 0 means just straight up 3. Regener's down to 6. Not the worst. Use Hydron's action token to move 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just in range, to use Water Mortar, which costs 3 energy. We're going to use 1, 2, 3 special attack symbols to do 4 damage with a water special attack this time. So we get our green die. 4 plus 3 is 7. Burn Viper has 6 hit points, so that's it. Oh, and our prize is we get 2 silver, a battery, and a small reprogrammer. 4 of those now. Just need to get some wild RoboMon down to low hit points. And that is everything we can do now, as far as I can tell, but I'm going to make a couple notes that I would like to rappel down this well. And also, as soon as I get that fishing rod, I would love to come back here and check the fountain inside the church. I didn't write down the fishing rods on every page, but this one's kind of hidden in a church, so easier to forget. The last thing is, do we want to do a wild battle? Sure, why not? Although the only one I'm looking for is RoboMon number 2, because the other 2 I have reprogrammed and added to my roster already. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's roll on the chart first. 2 and a 5. 2 and a 5 puts us here. I need to spend a battery just to search. Yeah, I just need to spend 1 more battery to change the 2 to a 1, and that will put us at RoboMon number 2. 1 more battery. RoboMon number 2 is a Bovison. I think I did face one of these guys early on in a competitive battle. Now let's see if I can capture one. It's going to have 1 armor. This is another nature type. We don't have to maximize our damage. You know what? I'm going to do my little gimmick here, and I'm going to use Regenair with Sparky. Let's see if I can use a combat to actually heal. So we'll roll them up. And, oh, 3 timers right off the bat. That's not great. So that's 3 out of 4 before the Bovison runs away. As for initiative, Regenair is first, then Bovison, then Sparky. So we might not get our Sparky turn. We will get a Regenair turn before Bovison runs away, but not Sparky. Regenair can kick it off. Let's try to do as much damage as we can. We have to get through that shield to get its health low. 3 wilds and shield. That's pretty much all to work with. We don't need movement though, at least. Let's do a big fan attack. So I'm going to use special attack and 2 more special attacks. So that's 2, 4 energy. Leaving Regenair with only 2, which is very low. 4 damage special attack with advantage. Reverse grass. 4 plus 2 is 6. Minus 2 is 4, putting Bovison down to 5. Still going to need some more damage to have a good shot at it. I think Bovison is going to use Hunker. Gives itself another armor. What are the chances we roll 0 timers? Not great. So do we have Sparky Bite? I mean, the armor doesn't inhibit the reprogrammer as far as I can tell. But at the same time, Sparky's not going to be doing a lot of damage. I mean, the most damage we could do is, most attack symbols we can get is 2, which means it can attack for 2, which means with the black die it could be 4, which means we could break the armor and get Bovison down to 3 more health. I'm going to play risky instead, and I'm going to use Repair, which is what we brought Sparky for in the first place. We'll spend the energy to turn the wild into special. We'll use a token as special, which is going to cost 1, 2, 3 energy, and heal a RoboMon for 2, so Regenair only has 2 damage on it, so at the very least we got that benefit out of this fight. Then need to re-roll for round 2 and hope for 0 timer symbols. But we got 2, which means Regenair gets to go, but that will be the final turn of this battle, because as soon as Bovison takes its turn, with that much time on it, it will run away because of the 4 here. That's its runaway stat, basically, and we now have 5. Which means we need to spend Regenair's turn throwing a reprogrammer. We don't benefit from defeating the Bovison. With 5 health, we're going to need to use a medium. Or we can just not waste it and do another battle, spend some more of our batteries. But no, let's go for it. So we're going to lose this reprogrammer either way. Either it's going to be successful, or our roll is going to fail, and then Bovison will run away on its turn. Let's lay out the box using a medium, so we'll use a d6, and we need 5. 2 is not going to do it. It is in this yellow to red zone, which means it could be successful, but we would have needed to roll 5 or 6 for it to actually be successful. So, alas, Bovison runs away. And I think I will just let fate have its way. I'm not going to go Bo Bison hunting. We'll just move on. We'll end this session. I'm going to go back. The only way out from here is to go back to 17, which is actually this way in the book, the jetty. And then we come down from here and we're going to head over farther east to the city on page 21, which is Port Platinum Southwest, which will be for next time. So thanks for watching. Subscribe so we can get more subscribers, and bye.